Lord Vladimir Simmons reclined backwards in his cushy velvet armchair. The gala had warranted more of a turnout than he had initially expected. The ballroom, bathed in the warm golden light and elegant melodies, was quite a sight to behold. Every influential member of the city had made that an appearance, including Baron Northcrest. Simmons watched from afar as the Baron engaged in a light-hearted conversation with the captain of the city watch and Lady Simmons. Although from where he was seated it was impossible to know for sure, Simmons had a pretty good idea what the subject matter was pertaining to: the grisly murder of the thief-taker general. While everyone had been quick to blame that thief for his death, Simmons knew that no mortal man was capable of such an attack. The state the corpse had been found in, the lack of human footprints in the copious pools of blood, and that mysterious green liquid that had trailed out of the room. It was almost maddening how dense the world around him had grown. They were so quick to place a random discarded longbow as evidence. Yet those massive, ominous claw marks left on the general's body had been overlooked as slash marks. The Lord shook his head. No doubt about it. That murder had been Guinevere's doing.
Enjoying the party?
A breathy voice rang from behind him. Simmons looked up to see Helena looming over him. She stood out like a fire on a vacant moor. While every other woman at the prestigious event wore an elegant billowing ball gown, the tanned blonde appeared quite content in her skin-tight leather ensemble. Simmons glanced up at the small, blood-red mechanist symbol decorating the collar of said get-up.
More or less.
He stretched.
So, did you hear? They say that Garrett, Master Thief, murdered the thief-taker general.
I heard.
The Lord quipped nonchalantly. Helena's grin expanded.
I take it you don't buy it.
No.
And why not? Not enough hard evidence for you?
She leaned down and whispered against his exposed earlobe. Simmons tensed.
It's not that I don't want to see public enemy number one hung, but there was plenty of evidence that those fools overlooked.
Finding her opening, Helena took the plunge.
Yes, such as those awful claw marks.
She leaned in closer.
Or those long, wavy red hairs that my own investigation turned up.
Her words caused the Lord to jolt upright. He slowly turned and stared at her.
You know, don't you?
You've got a wild one on your hands there, Vlad. Perhaps the time has come to call in an animal tamer of sorts.
Helena ran her long nails down the Lord's back, causing him to shudder.
I'm afraid it won't be that easy.
He faced her. In one graceless maneuver, Simmons grabbed her wrist and pulled Helena down into his lap. She was far from fazed. Even as the powerful man began to squeeze her arm, her demonic, amber eyes only squeezed right back, boring like two white-hot prongs through his.
Guinevere is more than just a headstrong girl. One might say that she's barely human.
I know. She's the last mother.
Her words only prompted the Lord's temper to flare. He pulled her upright until she was mere inches from his face. Helena smirked.
My, daring this evening, aren't we?
Simmons didn't reply. He just ground his teeth, never letting his vice-like grip leave her tan down.
How do you know that she's the last mother?
In case you haven't noticed, Vlad, I am the leader of the waning mechanist order. It's my business to track down and annihilate that pagan refuse. However, in the case of that sweet abomination of yours, I would never dream of harming a hair on her precious little head.
How can I be so sure?
Oh, come now. Don't act like such a fool. You know what my plans are, Vlad.
Helena felt as his grip loosened slightly. She violently tugged her wrist free, nearly causing the Lord to fall from his chair. She stood from her stunned lover's lap and placed a hand on her hip. Simmons could only gawk up at her in disbelief, which caused Helena to chuckle.
What's the matter, Vlad? Have you forgotten how powerful I am? Of the gift my late father bestowed upon me?
No.
Here's the deal, sweetheart. I'll deliver Guinevere. But...
Yes?
You grant me full creative control over my factories, as well as a full legal pardon pertaining to anything that may transpire within. Do we have a deal?
She grinned suggestively, licking her dark red lips.
Helena, you know that I can't do that. You have to get that sort of request granted by Northcrest.
Helena knelt before him, positioning her head between his trembling legs. She ran her right hand over his knee and up. Simmons gasped.
Now, Vlad, Elias is your friend. And what kind of a woman would I be if I went to talk to your chums behind your back? Just make it happen,
she whispered, her tone low and husky.
Yes, I'll secure you that permission, Helena.
He groaned. Instantly, she was on her feet.
Excellent!
As she started away, the Lord called to her.
Helena!
Relax, Vlad. Get me my permissions and I'll get your Guinevere back for you. These hands of mine don't mind being full, after all.
She winked. With a loud scraping noise, the doors shook, and then swung wide open. The complex was full of machinery and signs. Pipes ran along the ceiling, and a loud whirring sound could be heard in the background, occasionally joined with other industrial sounds such as crashes and alarms. Accompanied by two of her followers, Helena walked down a series of halls, with vibrating machines and assembly lines lining the way, occasionally ducking under low-hanging wires or carefully stepping over steaming pipes.
Gentlemen, I trust that you shall embrace this opportunity. You two will be working in very close proximity with me, and together, we're going to make all kinds of progress.
She coaxed. The two men accompanying her grinned at one another. They were by this point all too aware of their mistress's love of innuendo and sexual puns. Their only hope was that some of her teasing was indeed sincere.
Now, let me tell you a story. 25 years ago, there lived a man with a truly wondrous idea. So gifted and intelligent was he that many considered him a literal living deity. And he was, in his own right. He split from the Hammerite organization and found his own faction, when he discovered that all organic life was inherently flawed. Thus, he planned to eliminate all organic life in the city via his crowning invention, the masked servant. These servants were designed to be tireless and completely obedient. But it wasn't always this way. Oh no! Originally, these perfect creations had been human refuse, undesirable low-class ilk. But thanks to the miracle of mechanist biochemistry, they became perfect.
A glint of insanity shimmered in her eyes as she faced her companions. The men exchanged apprehensive looks.
But alas, it was not to be. That damned nymph, that meddling thief!
She snarled. Somehow, Helena managed to regain her composure as she unlocked the set of double doors at the end of the cramped corridor. She held out a hand, beckoning the two men inside, after which she slammed the door behind them. They both turned and looked around at the immense room. It was fairly empty, save for a large utility ramp and a peculiar-looking machine with a series of tubes coiling out of it. A mechanized belt was attached to the ceiling, several hooks covered in rust hanging down, spaced about 5 feet apart. Even further above that was a fairly complex object, with chains and gears hanging off of beams and pipes loosely. Helena turned back to her companions and began speaking in a loud, authoritative voice.
But Karis's plans did not die with him that day. Oh no. Thanks to the unfaltering belief of his only child, the city shall not have to weep, for I alone shall usher in a new age of change in this place. The builder's paradise is no longer a mere daydream. It is happening all around us, even as we speak.
Mother Helena, what are you talking about?
The bolder of the two men spoke up.
This! The only fault our beloved Karis had! If only I could have told him! If only he had been given the opportunity to discover it for himself! Life! Energy!
She laughed maniacally.
No boilers, no rust gas. It is all unnecessary. Don't you get it? The key is conversion. Take organic life and harvest it. Only then can the life energy be converted into a usable fuel. A fuel that my beautiful metal beings crave.
Helena began to laugh again. Her amber eyes revealed no emotion, other than cold apathy, coupled by hopeless insanity. She regained herself, and then affixed her gaze back down upon the two men.
Would you too like to see how this process works?